Welcome back to Views with Hughes and Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and we're going to talk more about the whole Disney drama ahead of the shareholders vote that's coming up this Wednesday. All right. So as I've reported before, we already see that woke Disney is in trouble with their early announcements of nuts and pelts being in the early lead. OK, but now we see that we're going to talk about more about how the investors are actually suing Disney. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. It's no surprise that Disney is in trouble. Okay, woke Disney, as I like to call it, because let's face it, the company has gone woke. Woke Disney is in a lot of financial trouble. That's nothing new to us. Okay, and it's been in a real mess money wise for the past few years, and now things are getting even messier as it seems. So word is that woke Disney investors are thinking about suing them because woke Disney hasn't been straight about their cash situation. And it looks like this kind of drama is turning into the normal things in Hollywood nowadays. And we're hearing about a bunch of investors that are calling out different Hollywood studios, claiming that they're not being honest about their earnings. And because of this, different investors are pouring in more solid cash than they probably should, seeing as the actual profits are nowhere to be seen. And that's no surprise because you all knew that, and with streaming shaking things up and everything, it's gotten even tougher for these studios to make a buck. So it looks like they're choosing to lie to their investors rather than dealing with the reality of where they stand in the market. Okay, now woke Disney really needs to shake things up because they never seem to admit when they mess up. They never take accountability. If one of their movies tanks, they're quick to point fingers at fans or critics online on YouTube. Now, there's talk that they've been lying to their own investors. And at this point, it's pretty clear they're not into owning up to their mistakes and they keep passing blame around. And it's another sign that, the big movie studios are a huge part of the problem in Hollywood today. Not the people actually making the movies, like directors, actors, and writers. Honestly, the whole mess that Hollywood's in, it's hardly even never their fault of the actual filmmakers. It actually boils down to these giant studios that don't seem to get what makes a good story anymore. Okay, so basically when these big shots at woke Disney don't listen to what people want and don't let the folks who are actually making the movies do their thing, they start pointing fingers elsewhere but themselves. And after all, they're the ones who are hiring different activists, directors, writers, and actors and actresses rather than actual creative directors and actors and actresses. Okay, and the funny part is, not by paying attention to what's going on and what people want, but woke Disney is just throwing money down the drain. Okay, and I think that woke Disney has been lying to their money people, telling them that everything's peachy, and so they keep pouring cash into these massive movie projects, taking in 200, 300, even $350 million big. But guess what? These films are tanking. They're flopping, okay, losing a ton of money, sometimes even billions, okay? So here's the $1 million question. Would you rather pump out a movie for $50 million that brings back $60 million or blow $300 million on a movie that's going to put you at a less than $100 million, okay? And obviously, you go for the smaller movie that actually makes you money instead of the mega budget one that ends up costing you, all right? But to put it plainly, if woke Disney took a good hard look at the market as it stands and decided to trim their big budgets, they'd actually likely see a lot more green at the end of the day. Okay, it's like this: facing up to the tough reality of where they stand means they'd have to actually work on making their stories grab people again, get their attention, get their butts into the movie theater seats. And they need to dig deep and bring out characters and plots that fans are genuinely excited about, recognizing once and for all that this is a big surefire path to turning a profit. But here's the thing: they're caught up in the game, playing the blame game, tossing their faults everywhere but where it belongs, and they're completely blind to the real reason that they're stumbling. And it's like they're missing the forest for the trees, because they're at every turn, instead of stepping up in the middle where things went south, they're off looking for someone or something else to pin their fails on. And it's nothing new, because they've actually got rid of some people like Victoria Alonso from Marvel Studios and stuff, because guess what? Even though that she had the title of VFX manager or something like that, she's basically still controlled of what's been improved and what's not been improved and what should be woke and stuff. All right. And she was a brainchild of it, but they also blaming people who don't really have any involvement in the movies and stuff, like the fans. Okay. Like they keep blaming the fans, okay, and they always looking for someone or something else to pin their failures on. So when you get down to the nitty gritty of it all, it's really about woke Disney needing to step up, okay, take a long, hard look in the mirror and own their part in the mess. It's also about getting real with themselves and everyone else about what it's going to take to actually get back on top. Accountability and a good dose of reality. That's the recipe they need to follow. That's the recipe we all need to follow. I'm still following that myself, and I had to put aside a lot of pride to go ahead and do that. But then again, I'm a man of faith, and I have to do that if I want to go ahead and be at the Lord's heavenly throne. All right, so let me break it down for you all, how woke Disney could really start raking in cash again, okay? And it's pretty easy. First off, they need to go ahead and get real with how much they're spending on the movies. And the superhero movies with all the fancy effects and stuff, right? They're making $1 billion off of those is a thing of the past. But here we are in 2024, and woke Disney is still throwing money at these kinds of movies and thinking they're going to hit the jackpot. And it's like still 2018. And man, it's wild because every other studio that's has woken up and smelled the coffee, realizing that things have changed. Just look at last year. Some of the other guys put out big movies on a way smaller budget and nearly hit the $1 billion mark because they got with the program. They saw where they were messing up, owned it, and then changed things up. Woke Disney, on the other hand, has got to do the same if they want to go ahead and get back on top. But they feel that they'll be able to make more money if they put out their political ideology. All right. So here's the deal. Okay, Barbie was made on a way smaller budget than those massive woke Marvel movies. But guess what? It raked in over $1 billion. And then there's Oppenheimer, which nearly hit the $1 billion mark too. And they only spent $100 million on it. And now look at woke Disney throwing a whopping $250 million on average at The Little Mermaid and other movies and end up getting diddly squat. Like no profits in return. And these facts alone just show how crazy the whole woke Disney's strategy is. And it's not about how much cash you throw at a movie. It's all about the story you're telling and making sure it hits the spot with the right crowd. So that way you can take in more money than what you spent. Not only for the production of the movie, but also for marketing. And this brings me to another big point why being straight up and owning your stuff can make your movie studio rake in more cash. Stick to the stories people actually want to see. Prime example, Dune, Oppenheimer, even Barbie, for instance, at Warner Brothers Discovery. These movies, and Oppenheimer is also a Universal production release. And these movies hit the mark because they were all about characters and stories. Folks were already pumped to see. And yeah, Oppenheimer might be a bit of an odd one out, but come on, it's a Christopher Nolan film still. The same guy that made the Dark Knight movies, where Christian Bale played Batman. And you just know that people are going to just flock to see anything that that man puts out because he has fans all over the place. All right. And then there's also Barbie. I mean, who didn't grow up knowing someone who played with the dolls? OK, I got 4 sisters of my own who play with the dolls and stuff. I got tired of breaking off and all the rubber and stuff being all over the place. But then that's a different story. That Greta Gerwig actually nailed it, and they nailed it by getting her on board and stuff. And she hit it with the ladies because it was marketed to the ladies. All right. That was a genius move. And they knew exactly who they were making the movie for, and they went all in for it. And it's all about knowing your audience and giving them what they exactly want. So when you take a good look at woke Disney, it's like they're actually shooting in the dark with who they think wants to watch the movies. And they're out here making stuff like Echo and expecting Marvel fans to go ahead and jump on it. But it's just not clicking. Then you have Warner Brothers, who knows exactly what they're doing. All right. They didn't try to sell Barbie to the action movie crowd. They knew exactly who would love it. OK, women. It was women. They even brought in the director from Little Women who got a big hit with the ladies, and bam. It was just a moneymaker. And then it went and made Dune, which is far from Barbie as you can get, but They knew who that would be into it. The hardcore fans of the Dune books. And they didn't mix up their audiences trying to sell Dune to Barbie fans or anything like that. They actually stuck to those who love the Dune lore. But woke Disney, on the other hand, they assume that everyone who likes Peter Pan and Wendy, the Marvels, Echo, and Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania are the same people, which is just crazy. Okay, not all Marvel fans like Peter Pan. Okay. And the Marvels, and looking at the Marvels and Echo, I'm not even sure who they're supposed to be for. All right. But don't get me started, because for one, the Marvels didn't really sell good and stuff, or at least Captain Marvel didn't sell good with the comics and stuff. And then Echo, a lot of people don't know who Echo is, and those who know Echo and love Echo, they saw that Disney did a disservice to the comics. All right, and let's talk about the third big woke thing that not woke, but the big thing that woke Disney needs to get right: how they're treating their fans. Everyone loves Marvel, right? But let's get real. People have already been tired of the whole woke Marvel universe thing sooner or later. All right, and especially since all the big hero tales got wrapped up with Avengers Endgame. Now, we're also at the point now where it feels like every new movie they drop is just trying to make a quick buck instead of actually needing to be told. And remember, at the end of Avengers Endgame, they tied everything up with a neat bow. And the only thing left was giving Spider-Man his curtain call with No Way Home, which was epic. But by the way, after that, they're just pumping out movie after movie with no real heart in them. And guess what? People are actually starting to notice that. And the latest stuff isn't hitting with the mark it used to, and because fans can tell when it's not the real deal. All right, so basically, woke Disney got to get its act together big time, because they need to rethink the whole deal about how they're doing their movies, how they're talking to the people putting the money into the company, who are the investors, the shareholders, and how they're dealing with us, the fans. And the way I see it, the only shot they have at fixing things is to take a hard look in the mirror, admit they messed up big time, and start owning up to it, and stop blaming the fans. Now, I really don't want to watch Disney go down the drain, but I'll admit it, I told y'all before, I was all about Disney for the longest time. Loved everything they put out. I just want them to go ahead and get back to making awesome movies again. And what will that require? Basically, the shareholders. They're not going to replace Bob Iger at all. They're not going to replace Bob Iger. No, they're simply doing this so that way they can stop having people who are on the Disney board, who are pushing the whole DEI initiative and supporting it and stuff. They're trying to lessen that on the board and stuff. Nelson Peltz still wants to work with Bob Iger. But the fact of the matter is, he's not trying to replace him. He's just he's an investor. He has his own company to run. All right, Bob Iger is still going to run Disney until his contract's up, or at least until there's a vote of confidence from the board when they lose confidence in him. Okay. And that's the only way those are the only two ways that Bob Iger will be out of the company itself. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts on this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, you enjoyed all the content I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Until then, peace.